Jupiter being with the sun is not a good thing. You think it is. It sounds great, especially the new moon. It's too much energy. Today formed two of the most extreme yods, but these yods are rare. And this particular yod, one of them, the focal point is Mars, and the other one, it's Pluto. And Mars is the planet of war, and Pluto is the planet of nuclear energy. So put those together, guess what we're dealing with?
Welcome to the Dr. Espen podcast. I'm your host, Espen. Today I'm joined by Joni Patry. This is going to be a very different and very exciting conversation. We're going to talk about world predictions. We're going to talk about Vedic astrology and how to realize what may be coming in the near future based on planetary celestial alignment. And so I want to read out this bio just the way it is. And I want you to pay close attention to this and feel into this conversation that's about to start. Joni Patry has been an astrologer for 45 years with a focus on Vedic Sidereal astrology, which is the ancient astrology from India, which I believe is way more accurate than the Western astrology, which we'll talk about in a moment. After studying Western astrology for 20 years, she discovered that the Vedic astrological system is much more astronomically accurate for prediction with the stars relative to the 27 nakshatras. She first got into astrology as a kid when she watched the notorious astrologer Jeane Dixon go on national television to warn President John F. Kennedy about his trip to Dallas because he would be assassinated. After the JFK assassination happened in Dallas, she wanted to learn how Jeane Dixon predicted this and dedicated her life to the science of astrology. The rest is history. Throughout her career, she's had the opportunity to share this far and wide. Now over 30 million views on YouTube. She's got her university. She's got a Galactic Planner that we'll talk about today as well. And I'll end on this quote. Remember the famous quote by J.P. Morgan, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. From my experience, this has been absolutely life-changing. I want to say a special welcome to the show. Joni, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, and I want to appreciate your having me on. Thank you very much.
Well, we need to get this message out to more people because the ancient ones used astrology. They knew how to read the stars. They knew how to read timeline cycles and seasons, planetary alignments with not just predicting the future, but how to live in the moment. So can we start there? How does one learn to read what is really happening? And I want to talk about predictions. Obviously, I know a lot of people are interested in that, but tell us a little bit about Vedic astrology and how it actually works.
Well, it's much like Western astrology. We are looking at the planets, what signs they're in, and what we do is it's like a map, if I could say. Your birth chart is like a map, and you can call it a horoscope. But the big difference between the Western and the Vedic is that it's based more on the stars. And see, the stars are moving, and the groupings of stars are really what constitute the signs. So over a period of time, since the stars are constantly moving, we have a change of the signs. So from your Western tropical chart, you're going to have your planets in different signs, but you see the signs are relative to the stars, and the stars are actually moving. And that's actually what those 27 nakshatras are all about. They're groupings of stars. And I love the Vedic because it really does take into account the stars and their movement. So when you look at a chart, it's the true placements of where the planets are relative to the stars in their movement. And this is astronomically correct. When I found out that the Vedic chart was astronomically, according to astronomers, correct, I said, I want to learn that astrology. And even the great seers of India that go back 3,000 years ago in the ancient texts, they were the astrologers that handed down this, I call it divine science. And from that point on, and studying the Vedic and really using the nakshatras, the planets, the stars, I found it to be so much more accurate with prediction. And then I was hooked, and this is the only astrology that I use now.
Recently, I mentioned this to you just before we press record. Recently, when I was studying my version of astrology, which is very limited but very interested, I realized, for example, that the great year. Plato talked about the great year precession. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
five, or excuse me, the different cycles of the yugas. The last Kali Yuga, how it ended recently. We talked about how the Mayan calendar ended in December 2012. Many people thought it was the end of the world. I said it was at the end of a giant cycle. So now we're coming into this new cycle, right? And I looked at that and I thought, hang on, that's very interesting because Western astrology has 12 months of different, say 30, give or take, um, days per month. But then oct means eight. It doesn't mean that that doesn't make sense, and so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. Right. And then I looked at Vedic astrology, and then I thought to myself, hang on, what star sign am I in Vedic astrology? Because
Mm-hmm.
my whole life, I'm 42 years young, and my whole life I've thought that I was a Capricorn.
Yeah.
And so I looked up, using Vedic astrology, and because I'm right on the cusp, what star sign am I? And I'm I'm a Sagittarius. It took me 42 years to work out that I'm actually a Sagittarius based on Vedic
Yeah.
astrology.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
research would show that it's about 23 to 24 degrees more accurate Vedic astrology. So
Well,
maybe we've been misled all along. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally believe that. I really do. But what people don't understand is they really get caught up in their sun signs. And in Vedic astrology, it's actually more important to focus on the moon sign. I always say Western astrology is solar based, this is lunar based. And there's some really profound reasons why the moon is so vital and important. Well, for one thing, it determines how you feel about things. Don't you feel that? Well, I'm using the word feel, but don't you feel that that's the most important thing in your life? How you feel? That's going to attract you to the things you want to do, the people you like. It's not, the sun is your spirit. Yes, it's your life force. It actually does deal with your energy and your life force. But really, what directs your life and what you're into is how you feel about things. But aside from that, this is an entire system. And it's not just about where the sun is, it's about where all your planets are and actually relative to one another. Now we have the whole zodiacal wheel, we create something called houses. So when we're looking at a chart, each house represents a different area of your life. And where your planets fall in these houses will really tell you about your entire life as to what your interests are, what your career is, your marriage, your home, your family, everything. And I'm not kidding you, everything is in a chart. And therefore, I can look at the past, of course, the present simply, but most of all, to see the future and the trends in the future is what I think people need in terms of guidance. And if you can see that if you make this choice, you'll end up here, or you can change and make a different choice. Yes, you have free will, and astrology can give you this type of guidance. And even I love looking at children's chart to tell the parents what to get them more involved in. Are they going to be artistic? Are they going to be technical? Are they going to be salesmen? Are they going to want to do a career in medicine? And all of that is really present in the chart, easy to see. And this is so helpful because so many people they really don't know what they're supposed to be doing with their life. Probably the question I get the most is what is my purpose? Why am I here? And this really gives them the profound answer that I think most of us are looking for. And most of all, if we don't feel a sense of purpose in our life, then life feels meaningless. So, this is one of the beautiful things. But to really give you an idea of what this is an entire system of where the planets are. And it's like a snapshot of the sky when you were born, where the planets are. I know it doesn't make sense to a scientific mind, but it really is scientific. As a matter of fact, since I've gotten into Vedic and realized mathematical formulas behind these charts and these divisional charts and how the numbers work in precision. And exactly, I call it the divine science because everything is numbers and everything works in perfect order. When you understand the mathematics behind it, then you do realize it's truly a science. It's not just this airy fairy fluff about, oh, I'm a Virgo or I'm a Libra. That's not what it's about. It's really gets down to detail. And that's another thing I love about Vedic astrology, the detail I can tell you about your life. It will blow your mind because I can tell you about your sisters, your brothers, your parents, and why everything had to happen this way. So there's another element to this, karma. Everything in your birth chart is who you are based on who you were before. So you carry everything from lifetime to lifetime, and it's all revealed in the chart. So, what I can tell from that is what situations, what you brought into this lifetime to heal. Because so many people, when you see a difficult chart for relationships or marriage, they're like, am I stuck with this forever? My answer is no, but you brought this from a past life to heal. And once you understand what you're dealing with, you can heal it. But most people unconsciously just keep doing the same thing over and over and over from lifetime to lifetime.
Joni, how can we get this into every school across the planet so that we can begin to live in alignment with the universe?
It needs
Huh?
to happen. I'm
Yeah.
serious. You're right about that.
Wow.
It needs to happen. But once people really experience it, I mean, it seems so illogical. How can the stars and the planets have an effect on us? But really and truly, why wouldn't they? Aren't we all connected to everything on the universe? So we are not separate. Everything affects everything and everything is connected. But I believe this for the scientists out there. They are trying to do scientific studies with astrology using means that are not adequate enough to measure the frequencies, the vibrations that the planets have. So they're trying to measure it with these means that are, kind of prehistoric because I don't believe we understand what astrology is yet in terms of how it works because it is beyond our comprehension at this time. Yes. So JP Morgan, I want to say something really quick about, he said millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. I want to tell you why. This is fact, why he believes so strongly in astrology. Because his astrologer, Evangeline Adams, told him to not get on the Titanic, and he listened. So here's an example of someone that could have followed the path of where he could have lost his life, but he listened and it changed his life. And that's the main reason why I wanted to know about Jeane Dixon, because I thought to myself, what if Kennedy listened? Would the world be different right now? And these are the determining points. Can we make these decisions that can change our life that dramatically? And my answer to that is yes, absolutely. So this is my passion with astrology and trying to make it mainstream so people can have this advantage to make these choices relative to this valuable tool that I believe the divine has given us. And people, what's amazing? People have really strong opinions about astrology, but they have no idea what it is or have studied it. It's the only thing that I think's like that out there, that people have these opinions. And, I just want to open the world up to what it really is and how it can be used.
Phenomenal. And we talk about science and analytical thinking and critical thinking. Honestly, quantum physics has been proven for over 100 years since Max Planck won the Nobel Prize. it's been scientifically proven that everything is connected. We know that there's a unified field of consciousness in which we are divine,
Mhm.
fractals or
Mhm.
essences of this. And if
Exactly.
everything is connected, I mean, how would we not believe in the planetary alignments having an effect on us
Agree.
when even the moon alone will rise and return the tide? It just,
Right.
for me, it's almost the opposite. But I, had to live, slash lived in ignorance for decades without this
Mhm.
this wisdom and information. So let's start there. I mean, where does someone go to get started? You've got the Galactic Planner, right? So to get a session with you, there's months and months and months of a wait if the person is able to get in.
Mhm.
So where could we start right now in order to start to understand our charts, where we are, and what might be coming, for example?
Yes. So that is frustrating that, my schedule is booked up way, way in advance and people don't want to wait. I don't blame them. So I devised something called the Galactic Planner. And actually, I have to tell this little cute story because it's really how it happened. My youngest son, I have three sons, and I always say my greatest accomplishment in this world is my University of Vedic Astrology, except for my sons. They are my greatest accomplishment of all, my three sons. But my youngest one, all my boys would always have me do their charts. And my youngest one was more technologically savvy. He would put all the dates in his phone, and this was about 5 years ago. So he put all the dates. I would give him little predictions, and I gave him one. I said, "You're going to meet the girl you're going to marry on this day." And he says, "Mom, I'm not ready for that. He just graduated from college. I want my business to take off. I'm focused on that." Well, this day comes, and no kidding, he really and truly met her. And get this, he showed her his phone where it was written and said, "My mom said I was going to meet you today. My mom's an astrologer." And she was probably taken back, but good thing it didn't scare her away. but but then years later, he says, "Mom, you know how I put all those dates in my phone? What if we could do this for everyone?" I said, "That is the best idea because I already had an app." And so I had written a lot of these translations of what all these planetary energies meant for each thing that could happen in a chart with transits. So I added to this, I mean, thousands upon thousands. Actually, there's over 15,000 translations that I have done. And I've gotten one of my students involved to help me with this because it's just way too much. But we've written all these. These are the real thing. These are not AI, and a lot of the stuff out here today is using AI. And AI is not good enough yet. Let me tell you, I've seen some of the stuff it does, and some of the astrology that it even does is incorrect. But okay, to make a long story short, to get back to the planner, all of this, it's not exactly an app, it's better because what it does is you go on to our site, galacticplanner.com, and you put in your birth information, which entails your birthday, your year, place, and your time of birth. This is important. You got to find out what time you're born. It's on your birth certificate, your original birth certificate. When you ask for your birth certificate, usually they send you a copy without the time. Sometimes you can even call the hospitals and get your time of birth, but get the time. When you put all this in, it calculates your chart, sends it to you, but it puts all the transits, which are where the planets are in the sky relative to your birth chart, puts it into your calendar on your phone or computer. So when you pull up your calendar, every day it tells you what to expect. So this is the best I can do to really get the world and, the millions out there that need this information because there's only one of me. I can't do that many readings, but I wanted the world to have this. So that was the beginning and the birth of the Galactic Planner. And I think it's a phenomenal tool. I've really worked hard and we're constantly improving it. Me and my students are making it better and better. And yeah, so that's out there right now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can we get our charts and our houses and everything from there as well?
Oh, yeah, it will give you, yes, absolutely. It gives you your whole chart.
Mm.
You can print it, have a hard copy, but it also goes into your computer and most of all, into your calendar. And if you know astrology at all, it doesn't matter. It's going to tell you in, plain English. I don't know that we have it in other languages yet, but in plain English, it tells you like today is good for this. Don't plan business meetings because people change their minds.
Oh
Or do
gosh.
plan your business meetings because this is where your business is going to be successful. All of those things. Watch your health today, watch what you eat. Everything will go into the plan, into your calendar on your phone. So you can get this guidance every day. So wonderful and important.
I'm glad I finally got you on the show because this is life changing, absolutely phenomenal. You know what? I started this process without knowing it intuitively, and I started hearing about movement of the planets, and then I looked at sunspots, and I looked at
Yeah.
time by degrees, and then I found this information that all the major political and religious events, spiritual events, the major ones, are all planned at specific times in this sunspot calendar. And I thought to myself, hang on, that's really interesting. And I
Mhm.
started looking at my astrology and my star sign and who I was. And then I realized, and maybe you want to educate me on this, that the moon is in our star sign for about 2 to 3 days every month, and that has an
Yeah.
effect on us as well. What's your thoughts on that?
You did some good research, really good research. And I love to talk about this because this is where the nakshatras come in. Those are the star signs. And if you take the whole zodiac, 360 degrees, and you divide it up into 27 portions, each of those portions will be 13 degrees, 20 minutes. Did you know that that is the mean motion of the moon every day, 13 degrees, 20 minutes? And
Wow.
so, therefore, what we're looking at with 27 of these is the lunar calendar. So, so with the moon being in one nakshatra a day, and there's 27 of them. This is the Indian lunar calendar, and it is much more precise than our Julian calendar, where Julius Caesar and Augustus fought over what month they were going to have and make it 31 days. How is that even accurate? But this is relative to the moon. And one of the main reasons why the moon, I know I said it's because it's the way we feel, but one of the reasons why the moon is so important in Sidereal Vedic astrology is because the moon, according to what nakshatra it's in, that's the most important nakshatra for you, the one that your moon is in. But each nakshatra is ruled by a planet. I know this is probably going over your head, but each nakshatra is ruled by a planet. Whatever planet rules your nakshatra of your moon starts your entire life cycles in your life and determines when everything unfolds and happens in your life. And I love to go over this in people's life. These are called the dashas. And they last for, they last for many, many years, your entire life. But as you change from one grand cycle to the next, your whole life changes dramatically. Everything changes. And some of these cycles are 20 years, some of them are 7, some of them are 16. But depending on when you shift from one new cycle to the next grand cycle, everyone that I read their chart is floored because that is when their life changes, not a little bit, but dramatically. Because then you're looking through the lens of a different planet in your chart. Let's say you move into Jupiter's cycle, and Jupiter is in your 10th house, and the 10th house represents your career. That means you're going to change career and you're going to have amazing upticks with everything with work and career and expansion and opportunities, because that's what Jupiter's all about. But it depends on what house each of these planets are when you go into one of these grand cycles. And 9 times out of 10, no matter what, when you go into a grand cycle, you actually have a change of residence. You move houses. And so when I tell people you moved on this day and this happened, they're like, how did you know that? And it's all based on your moon and the nakshatra it's in your birth chart. I think that's just amazing. And it is. And it works. It absolutely works. I do readings all day long and everyone is just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it's not me, it's the astrology that's amazing. And I teach all my students how to do this for themselves because we need to get other people to be able to do this. I don't want to be the only one in the world. And there's many Vedic astrologers out there, but not enough. Not enough, in my opinion, to help people.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. And think about the power of this, in terms of having your academy, which I'd like to ask you in just a few moments, by having people having access to this science. I mean, for me, and my hypothesis is ancient sciences have been around for so long, but it's only recently just that science is starting to catch up on what these sciences have been teaching for thousands of years.
True.
And I have been to very high level numerologists, and I have been to like yourself, very high level astrologers, and studied astronomy somewhat. Every time it's blown my mind. I went to 3 numerologists and I asked the same question and I got the exact same answer. None of them knew each other. So I ended up changing my name legally because I wanted to change my code and how I interact with the field.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Okay, so let's talk university because there's a couple of things here, right? Firstly, I run retreats. I just had 75 soulpreneurs here in Bali, and we're teaching them how to start and scale a conscious business to make this world a better place, to raise consciousness with peace and love and impact here on the planet.
Mhm.
But I'm feeling right now, even though it was a wildly successful retreat, I'm feeling right now that for the next retreat, I need to have, it may not be possible, but someone like you here, because what if we could teach entrepreneurs
Mhm.
what their charts look like, when to focus, what to focus on? Do you have like a recorded session where you go through this? Do you do speaking engagements? I want to learn a little bit more about this so that we can see if we can get this to our community.
Thank you. Yes, all of the above to answer that. But my university is all online. It's self-paced, but what it is I have 40 videos. There's 6 semesters, and each semester covers something that's a building block onto the next thing to get you to the next level. And by the time you get to the 6th semester, I have all of the scenarios and charts that you have to calculate, and you have to give me the prediction based on some problem that you must solve. For example, there is one on marriage, and I will give you a chart and I will say, tell me when this person got married within a 10-year radius using all of the tools that I taught them. They can come back with the answer. Now, if they get it wrong, they just have to go back to the drawing board till they get it right. This is how they learn. So one's on marriage, one's on what should this person's career be, and when did they have their first major career opportunity. The next one is, this person died on this date. Tell me what their illness was, what they died of. And so we take it into, there's health and healing in astrology. So there's medical astrology. And there's so many other things. Let's see, the other one is, this person came into a large sum of money. Tell me when and how. And from all that I taught in the university, they will be able to do this. Then the very last lesson from the university, it takes about a year to complete all this. But by the time they get there, they have to do a reading in front of me and show me that they know how to not only read the chart, but how to counsel and work with people, because that's what you're doing as an astrologer as well. But every week, I have a live class too for my university students. Every week it's live, and plus there's 40 recorded videos that they have to watch. And after each video, they take a test, And I have tutors that work with them because the tutors are graduates of my university. They'll grade the tests and answer all the questions. So we literally, literally have students in every continent around the world. And I have to have my classes half the time for the Australian Asian crowd, and then the other half of the time I have to have it for the European crowd. So I split the classes up half and half in my morning and then my evening. The Australian people, Asian, Philippines, and I have tons of students in Singapore. But this is, I have to do it in my evening, whereas in the morning, yeah, you get the
Yeah.
picture. So, and here's another thing that's really cool about it. People get to meet each other from around the world, and we have Telegram where they get to talk with each other. So it is a community of astrologers. And to answer your other question, I speak around the world at different conferences. I've been to Turkey, to India, I've been to Vienna, England, of course, and I even Australia. So I have been doing a lot of conferences around the world. I love to go meet people live. It's probably one of my favorite things in the world because I'm always sitting in here in a computer talking to people. And you know the difference of being in person. You're there right now. That's why we do that. So I love teaching. I travel the world to teach, and my mission is to make this mainstream. So whatever way possible, I'm there. I'm doing it.
Amazing. I'll email your team and we'll get some dates over to you and we'll see what's possible. That's amazing. Where do people go for the university, Maria?
It's University of Vedic Astrology.com. And I am going to start doing the live Zoom videos for semester one. So in other words, people can start watching me teach live the semester one, even though they don't have to watch the live ones because the 40 videos are really the training tools. But I'm starting a new class August 6th. Takes about a year. And truly, if you take the university and study and come to all the classes, you can do what I do. Seriously.
Yeah, I think I'm careful with what I commit myself to these days because there's so much of
Oh
just
my
this,
God,
this
yes.
thing we call time. But this is at the very, very top of the list. I'm really interested. I'll be studying and researching more about it. Thank you so much. And I also could use it myself as a case study, potentially because we've got a large following and going through this, learning about it myself, I might be able to
Mhm.
do it for my patients and students, but I
Yeah.
might also be able to be a case study and see my life ahead as it unfolds and yeah, teach people about the journey, I guess. See how we go.
Yes, but you know what's so interesting is to go back and look at all these dashas in your past and see exactly what happened in your life. You can do that. I always tell my students the most interesting chart you'll ever read is your own. So you can go back and look at, because you know when things happened, when you got married, when you had children, you'll see it all in the chart. It's totally mind blowing. I'm not kidding you.
So cool. Oh, I geek out on this. I could talk to you all day. I want to ask a couple of questions about predictions.
Yeah.
Okay, and feel free not to hold back. And again, you know what? Like we basically talked about Trump before, and you made a really good comment. The comment was something like, "It's not the man, it's the chart." So if you're
Yes.
listening to this, if we go there, if we don't, doesn't matter. We're talking about the charts and what the charts are showing. We're not
Yes.
talking about individual humans or anything else. This is what's in the charts. Okay. Firstly, I want people to really look at this. The book, it's called World Predictions. And from when is it?
Okay, I have a copy here. Here's my
What is it?
newest book, World Predictions 2024 to 2042. What is our future? I go over each year, each year and predict. Let me tell you how I started with this.
Let's go.
Because as an astrologer, I've always said one of our best tools for prediction, and I could talk about this for hours, are eclipses because eclipses are when the sun and the moon and the earth align, essentially. And there's something called the north node and the south node. They're not planets, but in Vedic we use them as planets. Actually, the north node is called Rahu, and the south node is called K2. Yes. And so this is where it's where the moon hits the ecliptic. And what is the ecliptic? The path of the sun around the earth. And we're looking at it as geocentric, from the earth being the center. I know the sun's the center, but this is how we do astrology. So where the moon hits the path of the sun going upward is Rahu. Where it hits the ecliptic going downward is Ketu. These 2 points in a chart really do represent your future, your past, and your destiny. And when you have the sun, the moon, and Rahu and Ketu align, and this is all the alignment with the earth, of course, that they cast the shadows and all. When they come together, this is where Rahu and Ketu are aligned with the sun and the moon. And this is what eclipses are. But this Rahu and Ketu cycle, when they come together, the sun and the moon, they create incredible things. So the most important thing that I started looking at many years ago when I wrote my first book on Rahu Ketu was where they were at critical times. So Rahu and Ketu, their cycle is that they go through all 12 signs of the zodiac every 18 and a half years. So I watched that there was a point where I happened to notice, I was looking at September 11th, to be honest with you, 2001, and I thought, this is where Rahu is in Gemini and Ketu is in Sagittarius. And then I said, well, let me look back the last time that they were in, Rahu was in same place in 18 and a half years. I went back previously from September 11th, and it was 1982, I believe. And I thought, well, what happened then? And then it hit me. That was the AIDS virus. So that was the last time Rahu in Gemini, Ketu in Sagittarius. I said, okay, so that means every 18 and a half years, something big must happen. Went back 18 and a half years from 1982. And I came up to 1963. What happened then? Kennedy's assassination. Okay, I said, let me go back one more time. The next time, if I have something big, I know I'm onto something. Went back, it was 1945. That was the bombing of Hiroshima. I mean, come on. So I was writing this book about this in 2017. And I said, you know, Rahu's going to go into Gemini and Ketu's going to go into Sagittarius. 2020, what could happen? And I put it in the book. I know. And I put it in the book, and I said, something catastrophic is going to happen that's going to change the world forever. And it did. The COVID virus came right when I said it would. I said, February of 2020, we're all going to know what this is all about. And that was when all the lockdowns happened. You know, we kind of knew, you know, at the beginning of 2020, but we weren't quite sure. You know, it's like all of a sudden we knew what we were dealing with. And That's what it is. So I thought I better write this book about 2038, because that's the next time that they will be together, Rahu and Sag, Rahu and Gemini, Ketu and Sag. I better write this book just in case I'm not here. So to warn people. And I saw a pretty catastrophic event will happen 2038. But in the process of writing the book, I also found a planetary alignment that took my breath away for 2030. Oh my gosh, something. And, you know, 2025, we're on the prefaces of something big happening. Yes, it's all in the book, but 2030 is going to be another huge turning point, because there's so many planets lined up with Rahu and Ketu. Those are the determinants, and they also are what form eclipses. So this is what got me rolling and going, and that's what my world prediction book, why I wanted to do this. I felt so focused on this discovery of where Rahu and Ketu were in those signs, but there's other signs that are pretty catastrophic too. Although the one in Gemini and Sag is in, really, I went back to other dates in the book, so many things, and even their reversal, where you have Ketu in Gemini and Rahu in Sag, there was like the pandemic of 1918 killed more people in the world. So this is actually not only just those signs. Let me take it a step further. Remember, I was talking about the nakshatras? Well, I found that these nakshatras are the most catastrophic. Ardra is in Gemini and Mula is in Sagittarius. So it's not only those just being in that sign, it's those nakshatras, which are smaller portions within those signs. And Ardra, its symbol is, well, Ardra is ruled by the storm god Rudra. And Rudra is like storms and howling winds, but its symbol is a teardrop. That says it all. Going to Mula. Remember, Rahu and Ketu, you don't know this, but they're always exactly opposite. So, they're kind of like an axis that kind of like, turns like that. So opposite Ardra is the nakshatra called Mula. And I don't mean money. Mula is the nakshatra that deals with destruction. And so Nritti, which is the Indian god of destruction, rules Mula. And so you put them together, you've got sadness, teardrops, and destruction. And actually, transiting Jupiter right now with the sun are in the nakshatra Ardra. And here's the thing, most people would think Jupiter conjunct the sun, that's so great. And we just had a new moon today. Wow, I just realized it was today, this new moon. Yeah, you know that. But the moon and the sun, a new moon is when they're exactly conjunct. They're exactly conjunct Jupiter, which sounds awesome. The only problem is they're in Ardra. And Ardra's symbol is a teardrop. And the events that are going to be spurred on because of this. And here's another thing I want to mention too. You may not know this, but when planets get too close to the sun, they're called combust. And that means the sun burns them and kind of like ruins their energy or weakens them a lot. So Jupiter being with the sun is not a good thing. You think it is. It sounds great, especially the new moon. It's too much energy. Okay. And there's some other things going on that I could get extremely technical, but I'll just throw it out there. Today formed two of the most extreme yods. A yod in astrology is, let me just say it's a pattern, because I don't want to get into all the technical stuff. It'll bore you guys a lot. But these yods are rare. And this particular yod, one of them, the focal point is Mars, and the other one, it's Pluto. And Mars is the planet of war, and Pluto is the planet of nuclear energy. So put those together, guess what we're dealing with. And if you go back and you look at my videos on YouTube, I got to tell you something. I just went to Peru, which was an amazing trip. I loved it. But I did all of my videos the beginning of May so I could for June so I could go on my vacation and not have to worry. And I wrote exactly this about nuclear energy and war. And look what's happening right now. And another thing I want to say, this new moon is like the beginning of something. And in July, we've got something really I think it's going to change so much. And here's what's happening, really and truly. Mars is coming together right now with Ketu in the sky. And Ketu's loss. Ketu in Vedic astrology, they say it's likened to Mars. In other words, it deals with Martian energy, which is anger, hostility, war, violence, all of this. You put those together and it's double. As a matter of fact, on September 11th, Mars was exactly conjunct K2. And now they're in Leo. Before they were in Sagittarius. This was, September 11th when they were in Sagittarius. But now they're in Leo. Leo deals with world leaders. So there's something big coming up with this and destruction. And, and here's another thing. What Mars and K2 together actually equate to in meaning is terrorism. And this is what we're going to be faced with. And I happen to believe that something's going to happen in July in the United States. It's going to wake people up. The anger, the political division has gone too far. It's time to wake up and come together. And, that's exactly what happened temporarily on 9/11. And, sometimes this is what has to happen. There's got to be a purging. There has to be like a volcanic eruption. And literally that's going on around the world too, because when people are so angry, they cause the earth to shake. We're looking at earthquakes in July. We're looking at an explosive event that's going to wake people up and hopefully pull people together with the realizations of the truth of what the planets are trying to tell us. And as this happens, one thing I can leave people with now, being on planet Earth, we just came out of the Kali Yuga. We're still kind of having this. The Kali Yuga is the most difficult, darkest time on Earth, right? Yeah. So people are not aware yet. So these events, we're always going to go into cycles of war and peace. War and peace, that's Earth. It's polarities, it's opposites. This is the cycle of planet Earth and being here. But I'm looking at after this time, and there's so many things that I predicted about this, even the Venus cycle of it being retrograde back in January, February, said that around September, there will be peace. But something has to happen in July before we come together for this peace. And that's what I want to say. And that's where I'm going with my Rahu K2 thing. They're always telling me what's happening in the world. They're our destiny. And those yods, by the way, I don't know if I told you this, these yods that are in effect today, they predict what's going to be happening for the next, I'm going to say 6 months, because it's not just today. This is in action and it sets the tone. And actually, when planets come around and hit those points that they form this pattern, Yod is called the finger of God in astrology. And what that essentially means, everything that's happening right now is all set into motion, and it's a destiny thing that has to happen in order to bring a healing and peace on the planet. I believe that this time next year, we will have peace. We will have a bustling economy, believe it or not, against what most people are saying. Jupiter will be in Cancer. It's exaltation sign, the best place it can be. And I'm seeing where it tips off certain things in certain countries, especially in the United States, that we will have peace again. And I think it is a golden age coming. But we have to go through the tunnel of fire and explosive events in July, possibly August too. But then we're going to have peace and things are going to change really rapidly.
Okay, top 3 predictions for the next 12 months internationally, please.
I think there's going to be something happen in the United States in July, or there can be a major tsunami in Japan. And actually, here's what happened. I'm going to say this. After I made these predictions, and I did a video like I think 2 months ago or more, that pay attention, June and July were going to be very dangerous. Okay, so after that, And after, what just happened on the 21st, a few days ago, I predicted that around June 20th, there was going to be a big event that set the tone of violence and war. Okay. And so I'm looking at July 20th. That's when Mars exactly conjuncts K2. Now that's exact. But usually these things don't always happen on the exact days. They happen around, but it's dead on July 20th. And on September 11th, it actually did happen exact. So I think it was 1 degree off, maybe exact. And I find that sometimes when these aspects are forming before they hit their exact degree, the events can happen. It's like a ray of light. The brighter it gets, the event could happen till it hits its exact brightness. But so July 20th, I think it's destined to happen in the United States. And here's what else I see with that. Saturn and Neptune are exactly conjunct in Pisces. This is very rare. This doesn't happen. I can't even remember the last time that they were together, or not remember, but do my homework where I do all the research. And what I do is I go back in time to see see when these aspects were happening before, to see if I can understand what they could produce again. So Saturn and Neptune are together. They come together probably once every, I'd say Saturn, Neptune, 12 to 13, 14 years, but not in the sign of Pisces. So you got to get them going till they come all the way back to that sign. So this is extremely rare. They are stationing. And that means in the process of going retrograde and direct, they're standing still. This makes them 10 times more powerful. Saturn and Neptune station about a week apart in July, early July. I believe it's like July 4th or 5th that they will station together. And this represents the oceans, right? Pisces, Neptune, Pisces, something in the oceans and standing still. And Saturn's underneath the ground. So this predicts probably an earthquake. And another thing that Saturn and Neptune both rule is oil and gas, both of them. Actually, Saturn is black and it rules things underneath the earth. What is that? Crude oil. And then Neptune rules oil, but it also rules gas, such as, natural gas and things like that as well, and many other things, water. But here's the thing, they're together. And I also predicted that tankers would collide, explode. We would have problems with oil and gas, and probably around fuel points, or where we send the oil and gas either through ships or through under the ground, where we send the oil and gas. But here's the thing. Something big and catastrophic will happen concerning oil and gas and or earthquakes, and I think both. The oil and gas, the tankers have already been exploding. And you know what? They're talking about cutting off a point in the sea and the ocean around Iran. And if they do, they're cutting off the oil supply to the world. So this is another thing that's about to happen. I predict oil prices are going to go way up. Okay. So that might give you a little info about what to invest in. But yeah, but another thing, and I help a lot of people with that as well. But another thing is, so here's where I was going with this. I was thinking about the Saturn Neptune, and I thought, something big, big, big is about to happen. It could be an earthquake. It could be, big explosion. I wonder if anybody else is predicting this. So I go onto YouTube and I Google major predictions about July. That's what I put in. And something came up. Two things came up, actually. But the one thing that came up that I researched was that there is a Japanese psychic that wrote a book called The Future I Saw. And her name is Tsuki. Her last name is Tsuki. And it's all over the place. You can find it. She predicted a catastrophic earthquake in in Japan that would take out 3/4 of the island and affect Taiwan, the Philippines, and China as well. So she put out like 15 different predictions in this book. 12 of them have come true. There's been only 3 she was incorrect on. So, not everything is absolute. Nothing's etched in stone. So this may or may not happen. But the
And
fact
what's the timeline on that earthquake?
well, actually, in some of the writings, you can research it. In some of the writings, they say it's going to that she didn't predict a day, but in others, it said she did predict July 5th. Okay, and poor Japan. People are taking this so seriously that the travel and hospitality, they're losing so much business because people are canceling all their trips there.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I'll probably get out of there too.
Yeah. So
I mean,
anyway,
listen, please.
she predicted that. So I went in and looked at all of the, and by the way, I gotta say this too. This is a fact. I used to have a Japanese website for about 7 or 8 years, and I would make predictions every month for Japan, and my translator would translate it and put it on a website. And I predicted this tsunami, the earthquake of 2011, March of 2011. I put that there, and so many people in Japan thanked me. They sent me emails and thanked me because they canceled their big events or weddings and things like that. So you see how useful this information really is. So,
Absolutely.
so anyway,
Well,
yeah, so I'm looking at Japan and I'm thinking it could happen, and another one could happen in Japan in December from my calculations. So yes, July and December. It looks like it could happen. We'll see. So that's one prediction. You asked me for other predictions. Yes, I think Iran. I do know they're not going to back down. Looking at their chart, looking at their supreme leader. And I know that there's terrorists in the United States. And here's another thing for the United States. Think about Saturn being under the ground and Neptune being things you can't see. They're going to strike underground somewhere. So I started thinking subways. And I think the only subways, I could be wrong. I need to research this, but I think the only subways in the United States are in New York and Washington. Okay. But I know they have them there. So look out. And here's what I'm telling people. Lay low in July. Don't be traveling around the world, because here's another thing. Mercury's going to go retrograde mid-July, and Mercury always deals with computer outages. And when you don't want to be
don't
flying.
say that. I'm set to come to America in July.
Oh no, where? Tell me.
Colorado.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Colorado's
Good.
beautiful. You'll love it. So you're fine there. But here's the thing. With computer outages, it just messes everything up in airports. I'm not saying people are going to be in a plane crash. I'm saying you could be delayed days with this kind of nonsense going on, So that's another thing. So when are you traveling?
I'm flying mid-July, so it's 14 July, and then I'm going to be there until 18, and I'll fly back. So it's a little bit risky with the 20th that you said.
Yeah, you're getting a little close there. Just do a prayer of protection, and you know what to do, and you'll be okay. That's what I always say. I always say, if you're divinely connected to your divine within you, you are always protected. And I always, my thing is Divine Mother. I always pray to Divine Mother because, having children, and I used to be a flight attendant. And so I would be on a trip and I'd totally freak out thinking, what if they crawled into the pool, and then I'd start going in a panic attack, and I'd start praying to Divine Mother, protect my children. And one day this voice said to me, stop it. Quit begging. We heard your prayer. All you have to do is ask once, and your prayer is answered. And from that point on, I felt peace and I feel protected. So I'm telling all of you out there to just do a prayer of protection and know that you're protected, and you are. Whatever, if you want to pray to Saint Anthony, if you want to pray to any of the gods of India, Ganesh, whoever you feel protects you and you're connected to, just ask to be protected and know that you are. And you are. And that's the way it is. So another thing I want to say with what's going on in the world, there's so much hate and anger. Don't participate in that. Let that go, because what you're doing is you're adding more fuel to the fire with the hate and the anger. And that's why we're in the predicament we are right now. But the planets do fuel that, because Mars and K2 coming together rules war and violence and anger, and it heats everyone up. So, but we have more control by controlling how we react to things and watching the way we feel and react. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. What you put out, you get back. So if you're putting out anger, guess what you're going to get back? A bunch of angry people in your face. If you put out love and you put out gratitude and just these feelings of love and compassion, guess what comes back to you? It is exactly how the law of cause and effect work. And a lot of people call that the law of attraction, but it's really the law of cause and effect and karma, right? That's all it really is. So, yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation in itself. Hey, Joni, I'd like to get you back on the show. I know you're busy, but if you're interested, we'll get you back and we'll go deeper.
Okay, I love that. So I hope I've helped you understand what this is all about.
So much. I'm going to be looking into your university. I just want to remind listeners and viewers before I ask you the final question, we have the galacticplanner.com. Okay. We have the University of Vedic Astrology.com.
Yes.
What's the name of your YouTube channel, please?
It's my name, Joni Patry.
Joni Patry. Check that out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, follow. And I love that, because when you get regular updates on what to expect, I always then prepare myself accordingly, including prayer. I love how you said this. We cannot control the planets, but we can control what we focus on. We can control if we're praying or not, and if we're protecting ourselves energetically or not. And I think that's a superpower that most people have absolutely forgotten. So let's look at those. Let's look at YouTube. Will get you back. I definitely want a copy of your book. Really excited about that as well.
Okay.
World predictions. And I've got one last question for you. I want to keep on going, but I've got one last question before we wrap up this one.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here's my question, Joni. I want you to imagine that you are on the world stage. Every sentient being alive has gathered. They're watching. They're tuning in to your message. Take a breath, and whenever you're ready, do tell us, what is your message to the world right now?
Oh my God, I love this. So my passion and my mission is to make Vedic astrology mainstream so that everybody can enjoy and use this gift that the divine has given us, and that for everyone through this divine gift can realize who they really are. And that is that we're all connected and we're all part of that divine spirit.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for not just being you and writing the books and sharing the teachings, but also for building the structure in a way that it would be and is available to people across the world, even at a certification level. This is very, very beautiful. And I'm really grateful to have had this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. You're amazing. Thank you, Dr. Espen. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. And until next time, this is Joni Patry.